What is taxonomy? Taxonomy is the order in which organisms are classified. The best way to remember the taxa is by saying, "Dear King Philip came over for good soup." Each word starting with the letter of each classification level. Now diving into what the levels really are. Starting off with domain.
Domain. This is the highest level of taxonomic hierarchy. There are a total of 3 domains: archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. Archaea and bacteria are both single-celled prokaryotes, which means that they have no nucleus or membrane-bound organelles. The environment in which you can find archaea is under extreme environments. For example, toxic industrial pollution sites. Not only that, they are identified in being environments such as soil, ocean, water, and in mammals' digestive tracts.
However, the environment in which you can find bacteria is anywhere on Earth. The major differences between archaea and bacteria is that they have different biochemical, metabolic, physiological, and genetic characteristics that make them distinct from one another. Although, unlike archaea and bacteria, eukarya can be either single-celled or multicellular organisms that contain a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, and they are split under 4 separate kingdoms. The 4 kingdoms being Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia.
Kingdom is the next level of classification that is below domain. There are 6 kingdoms total: Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia, and Protista. The special part of these 6 kingdoms is that they all split under 3 categories, which may sound familiar to the 3 domains. Archaebacteria is under domain Archaea, Eubacteria is under the domain Bacteria, and lastly, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia, and Protista are all under domain Eukarya.
Now breaking down what each kingdom is. Fungi. The members that are part of the kingdom fungi include yeast, mold, and mushrooms, but we will go more in depth about fungi later in this video. Plantae. The members of kingdom Plantae include plants and algae. Some plants and algae are unicellular and others are multicellular. All plants have cell walls that are made up of cellular, unlike the cell walls in fungi. Plants are photoautotrophs, which means that they can use energy from light to make inorganic carbon into organic biomolecules.
Animalia, as stated in the name, is a kingdom filled with members that are all animals. A fun fact about Animalia is that they are all multicellular heterotrophs. If you do not know what multicellular heterotrophs are, they are organisms that must eat in order to gain energy. Most animals are motile, which means that they can move around. Special animals like jellyfish, corals, and sponges are sessile, meaning that they remain attached to a fixed position for most of their life cycle. Protozoa, members that are part of the kingdom Protista, are small, diverse eukaryotes that do not fit into the kingdoms in Eukarya.
Protists are either unicellular or multicellular without being under any special cell types. Since they lack specialized tissues, it helps distinguish them from other kingdoms such as Protists and Eukarya. Phylum. This is below kingdom, phylum. The phyla are broadly defined by the general body plans of their members. Class. This is under phylum. This categorizes classes, for example, amphibians, class Amphibia, reptiles, class Reptilia. Order is up next. Order is a rank used to classify organisms, sharing sets of similar nature. For example, Mammalia contains orders such as Rodentia, rodents, and Carnivora, large carnivores. Family is under order. Family is a group of one or more genera, especially sharing common attributes, for example, apes and lemurs. Genus is up next. Genus is a group of closely related species, for example, dogs and cats. At the bottom, species. This is defined as the most basic category in the system of taxonomy. An example is a miniature snatcher or E. coli. Speaking of E. coli, let's classify it. Its domain, bacteria. It has no kingdom, its phylum Proteobacteria, its class Gamma Proteobacteria, its order Enterobacteriales, its family Enterobacteriaceae, its genus Escherichia, and its species Escherichia coli. Kingdom Fungi. The kingdom fungi is one of the 4 kingdoms that are categorized under the domain Eukarya. Kingdom fungi is closer to the kingdom Animalia than the kingdom Plantae. The main members under this kingdom include yeast, mold, and mushrooms. Its main characteristics would be that it's a eukarya, non-motile, non-photosynthetic, and that they are mostly saprobes. Fungi are heterotrophs, which means that they eat other plants or dead animals for a source of energy and nutrients. Fungi can be multicellular and also unicellular. Fungi grows best in warm and moist environments. Something they lack is true root, stems, or leaves.
One of the biggest benefits for fungi is the antibiotic created called penicillin, which is made by penicillin mold. They also have cell walls that contain chitin, which is a main characteristic that makes fungi cells different from plant cells. Chitin is a complex polysaccharide. It helps and allows for the fungal cell to monitor and interact with external outside environments. It is also known as a material that provides structural stability for the fungi cell wall and protects it.
A few fungi are internal or external parasites and can act like predators by capturing prey, like roundworms. The beneficial uses for fungi are their ability to decompose and recycle nutrients in the environment. When fungi starts to grow on dead plants or animals, it releases enzymes that start to decompose it. Since fungi starts to decompose plants or animals, it keeps the cycle going and increases availability in the soil.
Kingdom Protist.
Starting off the topic of protists, we'll be comparing and contrasting prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, including their complexity. The main differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells is their structures and characteristics. Prokaryotes are relatively small and simple, unicellular, with no nucleus, have circular DNA, lack membrane-bound organelles, reproduce sexually and asexually. In addition, cell walls are present in all prokaryotic cells. However, when it comes to eukaryotic cells, it is only present when it is either a fungi or a plant. For example, bacteria and archaea. Now, eukaryotes are large and complex, unicellular or multicellular, has a nucleus, linear DNA, have membrane-bound organelles, and mostly reproduce sexually. Examples are plant and animal cells as well as humans.
Viruses.
Viruses are smaller than bacteria and can only multiply inside living cells. They are not considered living organisms because they cannot reproduce on their own. Viruses are responsible for many common illnesses. They invade host cells and use their machinery to replicate. They are typically spread through direct contact, respiratory droplets, and different contaminated surfaces.
Bacteria.
Between kingdom Eubacteria and kingdom Archaebacteria, there are 2 major differences. For starters, Eubacteria are present everywhere, but Archaebacteria thrive mainly in harsh environments. An extremophile is an organism that can survive in extreme environments. These organisms contain an enzyme called extramines, which is why their organisms are able to function in such harsh environments.
Steps to lessen or control harmful bacteria in our school from spreading everywhere is by first washing your hands consistently before and after meals, or after touching any surfaces, and after blowing your nose or coughing. Second is to avoid touching your face as much as possible. Third is if you are sick, cover your mouth when coughing. Fourth is wearing a mask when you are sick. Fifth is wiping down any and all surfaces that are going to be touched by you, such as devices like computers, phones, iPads, or tables and seats. Sixth is to continue to keep your vaccinations up to date. Seventh is to get the right amount of sleep, nutrients, to keep your body strong.
Bacteria have various beneficial uses, such as them being helpful by producing antibiotics and aiding in digestion.